Hello and welcome to the Chilijack tier list. The first thing I think that we have to go over is what I'm calling benchmark cards. They basically represent the almost French vanilla version of certain effects. So, for example, like a vanilla card would be Chili Guy. What that tells a player is that the average heat value, whether it's from an effect or its base heat, should be around 7 heat. And I think that these kind of cards are important in teaching players the value of things in a game. And what I'm noticing in going over the cards this time compared to the last time I made a tier list is that there aren't cards that do the French vanilla effects that I think were there before. Like, one is targeting and destroying one of a friendly chili on your plate, which we had with like Rex for a second, or now, and we have with Chili Copter to an extent too, right? Because like our hard removal to balance around, I think is Beely, which only targets Smile. So we don't have a direct French vanilla destroy a minion, and we also got rid of Pot of Chilies, so we don't have a direct French vanilla way to teach a player what the worth of card draw is. And that kind of makes me think we should have a card that just draws cards as a grill effect, as well as for any basic effect in the game. I think that might aid players. So moving on from that, we have our base removal in Beely, we have our base heat in Chili Guy, base removal of your own board in Copter. I think old Pot of Chilies would have been balanced at 5 heat, so I think drawing is worth about 1 heat, drawing one card, and the average. I think the number that I like to work with for average value of a random chili in the deck is 3.5. So, when it comes to like summon a card from the deck or a murder card from the deck, I think it should be around 7 minus 3.5. The current average heat in the deck right in the game right is 3.2. We decided yesterday, or realized. So it's closer to 3 right now. So on to the actual tier list though. 8-bit chili. Oh, we should go over what the letters mean too. I think S are the prime nerf candidates. A, for me, I think B means balanced. Most of the cards that I did in the last tier list were also B because I think most of the cards are balanced. A, I think A, there are a lot of A cards that'll also be up for nerfs. Often heat nerfs, though. Maybe. I think C's are ones that could use a little bit of a heat buff. D's could use either a heat buff or just a rework entirely. F are cards that I would just never play and I think should be reworked. And X is for cards that I either feel like I don't have enough experience playing with to give a solid tier list, which I might just say that and try to place it where I think it goes. Or for cards that I think should be changed sometimes. Like if I am already pretty sure that they should get a rework, I might want to put them in X. Like for an example, I didn't think that like the chili key and chest were necessarily in a spot that I was happy with, so I might have put them in X. Okay, on to the actual tier list. For 8-bit chili, it's like that's a slight downside, so I can see that being up. But it's like there's also nothing you can really change about it if you wanted to. So Ace of Chilies, I think Ace of Chilies might be one of the best cards in the game, but you just can't really change anything about it flavor wise due to the fact that it's supposed to be 11-1. I think a more balanced version of Ace might actually be like 6 heat. Like 6 and then -5. Because it's like, it's a decent amount of heat and like the ability's an upside. So it shouldn't be 7 or more, right? I think Achilles right now is too hot for the effect that it has. Like it's a downside, but I don't know if the downside's worth 4 heat. Almighty Chili seems balanced. Banana seems... I'm happy with that, where that's at. Same thing with Banana. Boba. I think Boba could be a little better. I mean, it sees play when it's supposed to see play, right? Like when you want to reduce heat. And I'm not sure if better means like... I think it sees less play than it could otherwise at a different heat value, but I'm not sure whether going to like -2 is necessarily better. But in terms of power level, I think it is maybe a little weak. For buff chili, let's see if I can I read it any better? Oh yeah. When grilled, merge the mildest chili on your plate onto the opponent's chili on their plate. We talked about this card a little bit the other day, but I think generally speaking, when you like, and not to like call you out or anything, but when you think about a lot of these effects that are downsides, your mind usually goes to like, oh, this is how they would work with negative heat chilies. But I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to think about it, because those are the high rolls, and most of the time they're not on your board. I think I would rather play it around your average board, your average chili, being around 3.5 heat. And with that in mind, I think it should go above 7 heat with this downside of an ability, personally. So I think it should just be a little hotter. I think that same thing applies actually to Red Chili, the other one we talked about, in comparison to it. I think Red Chili could go a little higher. But granted that you want the focus of it to be when it is doing its thing, I would think that 6 is fine as well. And the difference between that, right, and buff chili is that like red chili is actually giving the negative chili, like, so effects matter more. So I could see it having a like slightly less chili heat than buff chili would. And so for that, 6 being less than 7, that kind of makes sense too, maybe a little. I think red chili being at 6 makes more sense than buff chili being at 7 does. So I could see buff chili going to 8 or more and red chili staying at 6. Cactus has felt pretty good at -3, I think. Cafe, yep. Blackheart. Oh, sorry. So we were going so many in the seas. I think these have all felt fine to play. Maybe Blackheart could go up to 6. The draw hasn't felt amazing, but I think it's fine where it is. And that's kind of what B's for, is like for fine cards. The Cultist has felt good there. I haven't played that much with the new Cello Chili, but I haven't been impressed with the effect. I think the effect might want to be at 5 heat. So it's probably fine, but also, I'll just say I haven't had much experience with it, but it hasn't felt... I haven't been impressed with it. Chaos Chili. This is one where like I would want to put it in this in X because I want to say like I think it limits design space, and I think having the few cards. I don't think it's worth having like 3 cards that interact with changing the dish of the day just for the sake of design space. Like I'd be more interested in having complicated start of day effects than I would in having 3 specific chilies, because I think that adds a lot more replayability into the game. But 5 is balanced, I would say. Mine has felt alright at B as well. I think some of the cards in B, they could go up or down a heat depending on the card, and B still roughly be fine in B. I say that, I guess, because maybe I think Mime could go up to 6 possibly. It's felt fine at 5 though, right? Like people do play this card and have fun with it with the effect at 5. That makes it fine. Cheesy's felt fine. I haven't played too much with the new chef either, but I'm not sure. I don't remember what the average food was, but I know a lot of the food's negative as well. I think we decided it was like 1 or 2, roughly 2. And I think that would mean that it's like bad. was Right, I think the point that you wanted to make with it was that it says in play, and so you can use it to try and overheat your opponent. But like, I think even then, I think I would rather bump up its heat and have it only target your tray alone. Personally, I think right now it's pretty bad. Chiquili's felt good. EMPs felt good. I mean, it was balanced even at 8, right? And we just added more stuff to destroy, so I could see it even being up in A. I would say it's like a B plus A minus card. But it's pretty good. Chiliopatra, it used to be 6, now it's 5. I still think that Chiliopatras could go down to 4. Mostly because I think it compares well to, like, when you're comparing it to Bailey, right? Like, when grilled, trash and one smileless chili on their plate. Usually, and then you're left with, like, a 2-heat chili. When grilled, trash the mildest chili on your plate to place theirs on yours. I think on average, that effectively is destroying their mildest chili. And you're getting a 5-heat minion. That's busted. That's just better than Beely is, and Beely's balanced. That's kind of why I was having it at 6. And since it was knocked down to 5, I'm like, I want to put it in A, but like, I still think Chiliopatra is kind of just nuts. I think it should at least go down to 4. I think if it goes down to 4, it goes to B, maybe. Meaning it should be an A now. Apprentice has felt good. Cake. Oh, I can't, like, press Alt to make the ability bigger. I believe the ability was when you freeze it, you reveal a card, and you can put it in your opponent's freezer. It's felt all right. I don't know if it's like... I don't think it's just that... I don't really know what you would change about it, but it hasn't felt that strong. New Cowboy. I think Cowboy's still really strong. Because it's like a 3 summon. It's like a 3 summon, yeah. You get a random card that's like 6 on average and you're destroying something in your hand. Maybe B plus A minus. Haven't played a ton with the new Chili Bunny. But, I mean, we went over it recently, and I think we said it could be either 3 or 4. And so I think that means it's in a B place right now. I think if it were 4, I think you could get away with it being 4 heat. Caveman. When grilled, trash the hottest chili in play. If it was an animal, also draw a card. I think Caveman is an S tier card. I think you only play it when it's not going to kill itself, and that makes it extremely busted. That makes it an 8 heat, kill a minion, kill a chili card. I think you need to balance around the swing and make its heat much lower or change the effect. Candle's been balanced at 3, I think. Battery as well. Chess set's been like... I think on average, you're better off just playing an averagely good heat compared to playing chess set. Right, because it's like, you can't, like, to hit 21 heat, right? The most you can really get from this card is 7 heat, which is a chili guy, right? And anything more than that is above 21 due to the nature of the effect. And I don't think it's not really like flexible either, right? So I would almost rather it be reworked into something that can grant you a lot more heat when the chilies on the side have lower heat values. If that makes sense. Like, I would think if I have 2 3s on my board, I want this to be giving me a lot more than 3 heat. And I think that's a fair thing to do with chess set. I'm gonna go pee. Mech. I think the most elegant way to change chess set while still retaining the ability, because it is a fun ability, basically castling. I think a way to do that and like almost feel like you're hitting that, either upgrading into a queen or like, you know, winning something, is just making Chili chess set go to 10 heat. And I think that makes sense in this. I think cards like Chili chess set are supposed to be sort of like comeback mechanic cards, right? A little bit too. So I think having it basically only work with like, 4 heat or less, 5 heat or less is kind of a reasonable thing. Like if you've got 2 8s on your board, you don't need a chess set to be a flexible, like 2 heat card. You know what I mean? You're already sort of winning in the normal way. It's supposed to be a little bit of an alt wing con, and that means having lower heat chilies in general. Otherwise, you could just play normally. Cloud, when frozen, trash the mildest chili on your tray. I think it does what it needs to do. I think it's a little too weak to actually play it very often, but I think that's part of what its purpose is, even if it is weak. In general, I think I don't like negative heat chilies being that negative. Like I could see this being, I think this would see more play at -3, but that also goes against the flavor of the fact that we have other ones that do like, -2, -3, -4, like in order. So it's fine. That is weak. Chili coin. That's felt pretty balanced so far, I think. Maybe a little weakish, but that's good because it's a fun effect and people are still playing it. Oh, here's one of the ones that was on my list to talk about. Chili dating app. When grilled, merge an opponent's mildest chili on their plate onto the hottest chili on your plate. Question for you. Is the mildest chili on their plate going to be more than 1 heat? The answer is over 90% of the time. And you know what that means? It's a better card than Beely is. And that makes it busted. I feel like it's the same thing for... Where was it? It was the new Chilijack. And if you see it, yell at me. Thank you. The new Chilijack reads... When grilled, merge an opponent's mildest chili on their plate onto this chili. That is destroying their mildest chili and giving you heat. It should be way less than 3. And I don't really think you could do them as a 1 without like... I think, are they like, they might be too strong at 1 heat too? And what that means is that some part of it would have to be changed of the effect text. CPU fan. I feel like it's... I'll say that I don't think I have experienced the card that much to give that solid of a take on it, but part of why I feel like I haven't experienced on it is because I pass almost every time I see it. And that makes me think that it's weak. I don't know if there's anything I would change about it, but it's weak. Chile designers felt good. Donuts felt, it's a free 1 heat, right? So, ooh, another one on my list to talk about is Chili Egg. I think Chili Egg right now is D tier, and I think it fails at the job that it's trying to deliver on. I think what this card is promising you is that if you put it on your tray and you play a synergy card that plays with it, that destroys it, it'll be better on average than an average chili. And I don't think it delivers on that promise. I think the primary purpose right now for Chili Egg is to be randomly destroyed by a chili while it's in the deck. I think this is the point of this is to be trashed by grill effects, and that's what makes it okay as it is, but never playing it. And I kind of think that's a shame. I think personally, what I think Chilijack needs is I think it needs to be changed to, instead of Bio Chili, wild. I think you change it to wild plated, and I think you make it summon 3, and you change it into chili eggs. I think that is what it needs, and that sounds strong to me, but not broken. And I think that sounds like a fun play style and fun way to deliver on what Chili Egg promises. And we should probably talk about the pots, the 2, while we're at it. Because part of why I'm thinking it needs to be 3 is because pickled peppers. Part of why I think it needs to be 3 is because even when I proc pickled peppers, and it's 2 from my hand that I know it's going to be, it hasn't felt strong at all. It's better than a D. I think it's a C, but it's felt weak. It feels like, for pickled peppers even, when you proc it, it barely feels good, even though it's a hard thing to do. And I think Chili Egg does it in a worse way. It is more egregious. So, and I don't think you can bump pickled peppers up to 3 and then Chili Egg to 2. So I think the play is to keep pickled peppers at 2, especially because you're choosing which ones they are by virtue of having them in your hand, and then making Chili Egg summon 3. That's my take. Chili Dragon's been good. Chili Engineer. Civil. I haven't really played much with it because it's a newer card, right? But I think 6 heat seems about right for it. Maybe. I could see it. Well, you have to think about how much value. If you think about like a 3 heat chili, right? It's supposed to be giving you about 4 heat in value if it's going to be on par with Chili Guy. And if you're doing that, let's say your average chili is right at like 3.5. Not that you would target it all the time, right? That's okay too, to not target every chili. I think on average, trashing a chili is 3 heat, rather, worth, right? Based on like Chili Copter, for example. Like, it's your mildest, so, you know. I could see. I would think a vanilla trash a chili on your plate would be 9 or 10. And so it's doing that plus the value that you'd get out of, like, so if you like do a 3 heat chili, right? You should be getting like 4 heat value. But there's also the cost of the destroying the thing, which is, you know, the -3. So I think it's about right on that math, right? It's like 7 minus 1. Feels good. Gambit has felt all right. Maybe a little weak, but it's all right. People are playing it, right? So that means it's all right. Chili Goat, it does what it does. I mean, I don't think there's that many ways to interact with it, in terms of giving it to your opponent besides, like, you know, rich chili. And I think that makes it a D. I think this card relies on activators, and it doesn't have enough yet. I don't think it should have a lot, though, necessarily either. But on its own, it's just more. I think the point of it there is to be right. Is like funny when it shows up. You don't want it. That's okay. I think Sword has felt good. which is weird because you're trashing a chili on your plate to merge it, right? I think that means it's weak, doesn't it? Because if we're comparing it to Chilicopter, it should be like 8 heat. I feel like the few times that I have played it, and maybe the bias is there because of that, is when it's not like there aren't circumstances where just trashing a chili on your plate can be a positive thing. But I think it shouldn't be. It's hard to say how much it should be balanced around that. I think for a similar reason to why, like another one on my list to talk about was Chili Night. I think Chili Night shouldn't be at 5 heat. I think that's too strong. Before, I was thinking it should even be moved to 3 heat. And that's just because it's one of those cards that it's either like a 20% or it's like an 80%, right? In terms of like value, if that makes sense. Like it's either a really bad card or it's either a really good card on average. And I think you thinking it should go to 5 and not me thinking it should go to 3 means that 4 is probably the right spot for it. I think 5 is a little high. If your goal is to have it be able to be played when it as a vanilla card, I think 4 still hits that spot without being too strong. I think Cowboy could go down too. It's just a random one, huh? And they don't even always have the milder. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think going off of the other things I was talking about, Chiliopatra should be an S as well, but just due to having more heat than B by a wide margin. Although that is kind of what I said A was for. I think A maybe is more for chilies that all they could use is like the heat value. I'm not sure. I think Chiliopatra is an A plus. Chili Hero. When grilled, trash all chilies on your plate that are milder than this chili. That's been feeling pretty bad, I think. I don't think it has enough heat to justify the cost, but also more heat makes it worse, right? I think a more fun version of this card has more heat. I think that's where I'll leave that. Because I think in general, it's like if you're going to play this card, even now, it means that the chilies that are on your plate are already low heat. And I think in that circumstance, you'd rather it already, I think you'd rather it have higher heat when it does work in a way that's good, when there already isn't stuff that would be targeted by it having a higher heat. For example, if your board has like a 1 and a 2 on it, I think you'd much rather Chili Hero have much more heat for that specific circumstance. I think that's what Chili Hero is there for. I think if you already have a board that's like one is like a 1 and a 4, you're already not going to play Chili Hero, so it might as well have more heat. Which I guess makes it maybe a C. Chili of Loves felt good. I think Chili of Love's counterpart their brother or lover. I'm not sure. Spice Mancer. Where is it? Yell at me, please. Thank you. I think Spice Mancer's an A still. I think maybe a little bit too hot. I think you could still I think you could knock a heat off of Spice, and it would still be good. And I think it's better than Chili of Love just due to the fact that it targets their hottest rather than their mildest, right? Like, your opponent's mildest chilies are only ever going to get so mild, but their hottest chilies can get pretty dang hot. Especially in a way that you might not have a hot chili. You know what I mean? But you're always going to have like a mild chili. Mild chilies only get so mild. Chili of Fates felt good in the same way that like these other three heats random summons have. That's also why I thought Trenchcoat Chili. That's also why I thought that should be a merge 2 as well, because if the average heat is like 3.5, that would make it on par with like these other 3 heat summons like Coin, Chili of Fate, Bounty Hunter. I think at 3 it might be S, might be A. I think on average this is going to be like a vanilla 9. That's pretty busted. I think at summon 3 it would need to have a negative heat value base. And I don't think that fits the flavor of the card. So Chili Scarf. When trashed by a chili, merges chili into it, and its owner draws 2 chilies. I thought we wanted to rework it for the reason that we don't want it to be possible to have cards in your hand at the end of the game. And this would if it was next to a TNT, for example. So I think you might still want to tweak it. And that makes me want to put it next because I think it needs to be tweaked. As far as balance level, currently, I mean, it seems pretty weak. It seems like you're wanting it to be on your tray, but I don't think you ever put it on your tray at 2 heat. So that makes it like a C-. Chili Potion, when grilled, merge this onto a chili with inflate and activate its grill ability. I mean, that's kind of just a 5 heat battery, isn't it? Merge a chili on your tray, on a chili on your tray, plate, and activate its grill ability. Yeah, that's kind of just a 5 heat chili charger, right? I think it should probably go down to 3 heat to match then. Unless you care. I mean, it depends how much you care about not having the tray. If you care about having the tray, is that worth 2 heat? I don't think it's worth 2 heat. I mean, if not having the chili on your tray is worth 2 heat, then Chili Greatsword should definitely be buffed to at least 9, right? If you're doing to do like a vanilla minion and Chili Guy, and then losing a chili on your plate, like you are trashing a chili. So I think Chili Greatsword needs to go up to at least 7. Probably more, right? Because you're trashing a chili. And then if not having a chili on your tray is a downside, that would be like, even more. This should be hot. Chili Seedling has felt okay. I almost never... There's nothing I would change about it, I think. Chili Space Station was another one on my list. I think it's an S tier card. Because I don't think this is a downside. I think this can single-handedly win you matches that you had no business otherwise winning. Like, if you just get behind and you play this card, it single-handedly can win you some games. As well as, like, even if you, like, and if you manage to randomly hit the tiebreaker, then it just wins the tiebreaker. But I think on, like, This card has saved me too many times to not be nuts. Like, and I feel like the main time you play this is when it is an upside, and I guess that I don't think that should be possible. So I kind of want that to be reworked or have less heat. And I get the point was that you want to have the most heat in the game because it's it's the biggest thing in the game. It's a space station, but I mean it's busted, right? You could keep it at 12 for the same reason you want to keep Ace of Chilies at 11, but it's busted. Just know it's busted. I'll probably just put these in X. Chili slime. When grilled, merge all chilies from your hand onto this chili. I think that this is like kind of what I was talking about with chili trench coat chilies. Literally the -3 is what I was talking about on average, right? On average, if you're going to eat 3 random chilies, you need a -3 heat modifier. And that's what like makes it average. The average cards in your hand are about as good as the average cards in the deck. It's slightly better because you know what you're getting. But it's not -3 better, right? Or, I think. I mean, I liked chili slime before, and that's because I'm a slime enjoyer. I would say chili slime's probably a C+ right now. Toast has felt good, I think. Chimichanga, I think you've been right about it being like not always a positive, but I still think it wins you games that maybe you had no business otherwise winning for no reason because you just randomly got it. And for that reason, I think it should probably still be lowered. Maybe to like 8 if you think that's like... The math is a little off, right? But harder than the 10 would be. But yeah, I mean, you knew I'd think this is busted when you made it. And yes, I still think it's busted. So, but am I not putting in an S? I think it just means maybe it needs to just be a little lower. But I guess that kind of goes against the whole point of it being harder to play and like overheating you if it is. So maybe that means he needs to go higher, huh? How about double it? 20 or like 12. I don't know. No, 10 is probably fine for what your goals are with it. Chili Walls felt good. Chili Gator. That's another one on my list. When grilled, choose a chili on your plate and trash it. If it is an animal, merge it onto this chili instead. I think this is like supposed to be what I was talking about as a benchmark card. And for the trashing a friendly minion. And it's too weak. I don't think it delivers on what it's supposed to do either, as far as like its best case scenario is when it's trashing an animal chili. Because then you can merge it. And that makes it a vanilla 6-cost chili. That's so weak. I think that its neutral state when it's not targeting an animal chili needs to be like 9 or 10. Or at least 8. And I think 8 is kind of funny because it's eating something. But I wouldn't want to balance around a pun. Most of the time. So I think Chili Gator needs more heat. Like 2 or 3 or 4 more. I think the animal part of it means that like 8 would be okay. Because then you're like sometimes getting the upside. But it should definitely be higher than 7 at least, based on Chili Guy. Chili Geddon, right? When grilled, if an opponent has fewer chilies on their plate than yours, place this chili onto their plate. When dining, give this chili plus 13. What I'll say about it is I've never seen it go off. I've never even seen it work. And so that makes me think there's like a design flaw. In terms of balance, I think it's weak because it doesn't go off very often, which would be like a C or a D, maybe a C-. Chili glue. When frozen, trash the mildest chili on your plate to summon the top chili from the deck. I think that kind of does the same thing, right? It serves its purpose in what it's doing as far as freezing for RNG fixing, but I would say in terms of playability, the whole consecutive minus chilies, like -2, -3, -4, front at -5, I think that is not good for balancing. I don't think it's good for balancing. I don't think they are worth those values. I get that you want to have different values, and like almost in terms of outs, like you can be able to manipulate the heat value from anything because those exist, and that can be good for when you're overheating, and like it gives you hope. So it's not like it's all bad. It's more just that I think that these cards, like when you're overheating, do you really usually want to go -5? I don't think you do. I think when you're overheating, I mean, it's not like you never want to go -5. Sometimes you are at like 26, and you need that. And I can see why that existing is a good thing, but on average, I think it would see more play if it were like -3. You know what I mean? Just because it's like you're still not losing. You're still being able to lose heat in a way that's not losing too much heat. Chili Fence felt good, right? And it kind of does that thing I was talking about with like, it could also, this is almost a benchmark card, I think. Because, you know, we're destroying 2, so you just, you know, divide it by 2, and the average is like 7, so, you know, the average is like, you know, 5 is 2.5. Yeah, maybe. But it's felt, I think, good. I mean, before I was even having Chili Fent at A tier, because usually when you do play it, you only have one chili, either 1 or 0 chilies on your board. I would say this is maybe an A- B+ card, Chili Fent. I think its heat might be like a little too high for what it does on those first 2 turns. When you only have 0 or 1 chili on your plate. I think that's typically when it sees play the most too, obviously, and that's okay. That's okay. But it is stronger than, it's like a B+, A-. I'll say that. Chilisaurus Rex, when grilled, trash all chilies from your hand. I think that's an A too. I don't think that trashing all chilies from your hand is that much of a downside. Typically, most of the time, you don't even want to freeze a card. So not having the option is kind of like, okay. I think Chilisaurus Rex could go down to 8 heat and be balanced more so. 9 is a little high, but it's also fine because it's just a 1 heat difference doesn't matter that a whole much. It matters, but I think Chilisaurus Rex could go down. It's a little strong. It could go down to 8. Which again is also funny because it's eating the cards like alligator. But anyway, I don't think that, I'm not sure if Chilisaurus Rex and Chiligator should have the same heat. I'm not sure if their effects are comparable in that way enough, right? In terms of value. When dining, chili shroom. When dining, if the chili blah blah blah. Yep. I mean, we thought that was, when it works, it's doing what it is meant to do. In general, I think chili shroom is kind of why I think you want to balance around when the card is actually played, right? Because the only time you play this is when you have a negative heat chili, and that is what makes its value like 7 or more. That's sort of why I think cards like Chili Knight should have less heat, because I think you want to balance around the times that they are played rather than the times that they're not. Because when they're not being played, they're not being played, right? They're already not going to be played no matter what their heat value is, unless it's insanely high. So I think you want to balance around the games that they're played. Chili Vision, we went down to 2. I think Chili Vision's a good card. I think it's an A. I think it has more heat than it ought to have, personally. Because it's already a trash. Like it's already got a good trash effect. Like maybe. You're basically drawing a card for any trash if you don't play it. It's like it's probably a B plus. It's probably a B plus. Because it's like, it's not like it's going above 7 or anything, you know? It's just like, it's almost a vanilla card. And that is kind of reasonable to be at 6. Yeah. Let's say B plus, maybe. Chimba's felt good. It does what it needs to do. Chili, similar deal with all the... I think most of the negative heat chilies are going to be in C. For the same reasons. Chameleons felt good. Chinchillas felt mid. I think I think Chinchilli has gotten worse since the last tier list. The reason being, a lot of the trash chilies now that you would have put on your plate before are just merged chilies anyway, right? And so you're getting their heat value in either case. That's sort of why I kind of, maybe if you're not going to put the old Chippy ability on Chippy anymore, like, that's kind of why I'm going back to the whole deal where it's like, I do want there to be able to be trash chilies on boards more often, on trays more often, plates. And I, maybe, if not on Chippy, then maybe Chinchilli, because like it's already doing the summon effect, and it's just, it doesn't feel like useful very often compared to just playing a different chili and letting like the merged chili go through, right? Jeez, this has felt strong. Maybe even a little too much heat. Chippy, wind grill, put a merged chili on any tray onto your plate. Nah, yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. That's like, this is like, I think this effect needs to have more heat than Beely does. Right now, this is just a worse Beely because you're not even like swinging very much, right? If the average food is like, 2, that's like only a 5 heat difference swing than you're making. And like, I don't think Chippy should have more heat. That doesn't really fit its flavor. That's why I think I would rather change the ability of Chippy, personally. Like, I mean, just think about the average heat you're getting off this, and it's not worth playing for the vast majority of the time. Like, especially if you compare this to, like, Chiliopatra, right? This is insanely weak, and that makes Chiliopatra, and, like, either like, this is insanely weak, and Chiliopatra is strong, so... Like, yeah, I mean, take the time to actually compare those. Chocolate chili, when trashes, you may merge this chili on your... Wow, this chili, even though that... Yeah, yep. I mean, that does the job. It's like, I mean, I think a lot of the merges shouldn't be too high anyway. I could see that even going down to, like, 2 heat. I think, again, you were trying to get that, like... That flavor or aesthetic of them being, like, consecutive heats. I don't think that's necessary for balance. Or, like, rather... I think doing that could hinder balance some. So I would rather, like... It's almost like a free summon. That's all. Cosmic. When grilled, merge each player's mildest chilies onto their plates onto this chili. That seems pretty busted, but at the same time, the few times that this has come into hand, I think it's been unable to be played without overheating, and that's the whole point of, like, that's what it's like, oh, that's what makes it bad. I think you want to balance around the times that it actually is, like, sees play, and that, I think, makes it busted. I think it has too much heat. Chuggy. I mean, I think its main tool is right. It was like disruption before, right? I think it's cute, and it does something funny. But it's a little weak. I wonder if I wonder if this would be a better card if it subtracted more. But I think it's pretty elegant how it is now. And flavorful still. This has felt good at 5. She's felt good. The new Curse Chili's been... Obviously, you don't want to... But I think I might like this design as far as, like... As far as the Curse Chili's that we've been trying out go. And I think it's healthier that it's a merge rather than a summon because it still gives you the extra turn to interact with it as well. Although maybe that's like... Maybe that's a reason to have it be a summon instead of a merge, right? Is so that you can interact it more with all the trash chilies. Instead of just having to trash what was your hottest chili before. I do like the flavor with holy chili, though, with removing the merged. That is like, that makes sense to me. I think it would be an easier card to interact with if it was a summon effect. I don't think it's worth the holy flavor. I think you have to be able to target this to make it a healthier card. That kind of makes sense, right? I'd be curious. I'd be curious to play with it like that. Divine Chili has felt pretty garbage since the change. I don't know what's more to say. I don't think you want to buff its heat to make it so like, oh, maybe you'd play it anyway without its ability going off. I think you want its ability to go off because it's fun. And for that, I think you need to be able to make it... I think you have to be able to play around it, and that means targeting Trey. And I think it's perfectly fine that you think there's some overlap with Divinchili. I think it's perfectly fine for them to do what they do in different ways, right? Because Divinchili goes tall, and Divine Chili goes wide. And that's the difference, and I think that's healthy and normal, and they're fine. They're different enough. I think it should target Trey. Franken Chili's felt good. And fun. Dizzy Chili's felt very good too, and it's like people actually play this, so like it's good and fun. Fairy Chili, when grilled, return a chili on your plate to your hand, summon the top chili of the deck into your plate, and activate its grill ability. This is most of the time like it's almost a vanilla 1. Honestly, where my mind's going right now reading this again is like I think you should keep Apprentice Chili to the... I think you should move the grill happening twice from Apprentice Chili to Fairy Chili. I think that's a much more fairy-like effect than it is an Apprentice effect, and that lets you keep Fairy Chili how it is, closer to how this is. Because that's like more of like a magical... I mean, Apprentice is... Like the summon is the magic the Apprentice is doing. The double grill would be what the magic that's like the fairy's doing. Fibonacci's been, still doing its thing. It's nice that it exists, how it is. Pharma Chili was almost my example for vanilla draw cards, but the merge, I think, changes it too much. When grilled, draw 2 chilies. You may merge one of them onto your mildest chili on their plate. I think that makes it almost like a 7. I think it's a little too high, right? If the average is 3.5, that makes it a 7.5 that draws you 2 cards. That's too strong, I think. I think you need to nerf its heat a little bit by 1 or 2. And 2 would make sense if you're drawing 2, right? Just because, you know, it's nice when numbers line up. Firefighters felt good. And again, this is like, if you actively compare this to Beely, right? This Firefighters felt good, and it has the same heat as Beely. I think that's the spot you want to hit with removal like that. Fisherman, it needs its own tier, its own awesomeness tier. Anyway, no, it's a good card. It's fun too at 3. People play it at 3. Forbidden Book. I still hate that it can target itself, and I would love to change the text on it. I think it's fun to play around, and it's a shame that it hits itself. And it's like a good enough card. I think it's a C minus, D plus. I think if you changed it, the text box, or maybe it's even, I think what it needs is it needs lower heat to like 2, and then I want it to be able to not target itself. To me, that's what I think this card is like screaming at me that it wants to do. It wants to be. Frostmancer? I almost had Frostmancer as one of my benchmark cards because I think it's a healthy way to like... It's not destroying your opponent's game plan the same way a Beely would. It's just freezing it. Honestly, I think you could get away with Frostmancer being at 3 because it is still similar enough to Beely, right? Where it is removing your opponent's mildest chili. But the fact is they get to keep it. And like, Frostmancer has felt balanced at 4. Based on a feelings thing, it has felt balanced. And so I think that speaks to say that like, not outright killing your opponent's minion and just freezing it is around 2 heat. Flomi has felt so much better as a summon than it was as a draw 3. And like I think that actually it helps it a lot to actually go off and like feel like you're doing something and like progressing your game plan and going to 30. It was a good change. Gilly Chili, it does what it needs to do. Pepper, Ghost Pepper, has felt too weak to me. I think I'd like to see a similar thing to what I was saying with like, almost like with Egg. It feels like right now Ghost Pepper's purpose is to be, all it is a funny card when it gets hit by one of the grill abilities that trashes a card. That I feel like that's what its primary goal is, and that is also kind of a shame. I would like to see it have much more negative heat and have a much more active game plan of being trashed to be put on your opponent's board. Like, I think what you want it to say, what it's telling me it wants to be, is when trashed while plated, place this chili on your opponent's tray. And I think it should have like -5 or -6. I think that'd be a much more fun version of the card. I would say Habas felt good, and that's like good math. Glitch Chili is still, before it was a 3 heat, right? And it felt a little too strong. At 0, it's felt balanced, and it's still so fun that I play it every time. So, good change. Hacker, it's fine. I think Hacker could go to 6 heat because its ability just pretty much hits nothing, but it's a slight upside. I think I would rather rework this, and like, you know, we've had this whole talk about even removing tech. Like, I think tech shouldn't exist and they should just be objects, and then you should make the synergy cards based around objects entirely and not just tech. And I think that would help it reach its critical mass, help objects reach the critical mass that having a card type like needs to be successful, instead of trying to split it across 2 different ones. So I think Hackerman should either use more heat or it should be redesigned around objects and then have them all under objects. All right, Chili chest set. When this would be trash while plated, this stays on your plate and Merge the top 2 chilies on the deck onto it. That's what I thought the old seedling chili should be. So, like, it's balanced out when it does. Yeah. Hitman has felt balanced and good after the change, too. Hobo, when grilled, trash the top 4 chilies to the deck. Draw all object chilies dressed. I think that's felt pretty good. Pretty alright. I think Holy Chili could still go up to 6 heat. When grilled, choose a chili on any plate and remove all purged chilies on it. This owner draws 3 chilies. I don't like the design of it. What I don't like is that I feel like what it should always do is purge and have it be a good thing for you. And I don't think the draw 3... I don't think it should... Purging an opponent's merged chilies and then drawing 3 doesn't feel like a fun thing to do. I'm not necessarily sure that means that you should be the one that draws 3 every time. I'm just not sure if it should be there at all. What I'd like to see this is reworked into a way where it's about, like, where purging an opponent's chili is, like, always a good thing to do, and then you have it, and then you just balance it around that instead of having it be a feels bad card when you're trying to do something positive, or like something that's fun and helps your game plan. I think I'd rather have this purge it and be like an upside every time and not just feel bad. So I almost want to put it in C for that reason. I think as is, it should have more heat, especially. Like, if you're going to be purging your opponent's card and it's going to be doing that, it needs more heat. If it's going to be, like, a negative effect. Hydraulic press chili was another one that was on my list, actually. Because it is a destroy-friendly minion chili. That means it needs to have more than 7 heat, right? Because that is a downside. Sometimes it's an upside, but I think on average, it's a downside. What this chili is saying on it is you can't have a chili with 2 or less heat on your plate, and that's a downside. That is a downside. It should have 8 or more. When frozen, trash the hottest chili on your plate. I mean, yeah, same reason that we've been saying. I'm not sure if the vanilla just trash without the summon should be on the higher ones or the lower ones. I almost feel like it should be on the lower ones because, to me, and by higher I mean like a stronger effect. Like, I think to me a -5 chili is already... Having such a strong negative effect feels like an ability to me, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've got neighbors. And Gochu. When grilled, force the hottest chili on an opponent's... I think it's felt good at 9. It's felt fun. Laser Cannon. Laser Cannon was initially one of the ones that I was talking about that's like... Laser Cannon was almost one of my benchmark cards, right? Before, when I was talking about, like, removing a chili. That's why I was thinking that Knight should go down to 3, actually. Was because it felt about on par as Laser Cannon. So that's why I feel like Knight is an A right now. I think Knight should have at least, like... I think Knight should be at around 4 heat at most. It's because Laser feels sort of balanced, right? And, like, I think the RNG effect is about a heat. Merge chili. When frozen, swap this chili with the mildest chili on your tray. It's felt pretty good. I think you opt to actually do this a decent amount currently. I think it could have 3 heat and still. I think you want it. I think I'd like it to have 3 heat. 2 is fine, but like I think it's a fun card to do. I think it's a fun little swap thing, and it's like you're basically opting in to do a banana. You know what I mean? And bananas felt like a reasonable thing at 3, right? So I could see Merch like getting another heat, but it's fun as it is. I think it'd be more fun at 3. Minor chili. When grilled, trash the top each shows the deck, and then put the Eldritch Chili Trash on your plate. That's full balanced at 3, I think. I don't remember all the. I'm not as familiar with all the object chilies memorized as I am with other cards, but it's felt like it's a 3 heat summon a random card, so it's like around 3 heat is fine. Mound chili. S tier. Same reason that old XXL chili was S tier. And this is like a similar reason why Ace of Chilies is S tier. It's a similar reason why Chili Space Station is S tier. I think it's a really hot chili for flavor reasons, and I think it gives you tray advantage and a heat advantage, and that's really strong. Honestly, I think that a chili that takes up 2 tray slots should be 6 heat. I think with that ability, it's because it's more or less summoning a random chili, right? So that's like a 3 and a 3 on average. Most of the 3 heat summon a random chili. Most of the summon a random chili effects are 3 heat. That's around 6 heat, 6 or 7. So I think a chili that goes on its side and takes up 2 slots should be 6, because I think that's a plus. I think that's a good thing to take up 2 tray slots. It makes the game end sooner, and you have control over that. So this is busted, as XXL was. Ninja Chili. I think it felt fine at 2. But it also feels fine at 3. I could see it going back to 2, and if you're worried about heat creep, I think you might want to put it back to 2 heat. That sounds reasonable to me. This is one I think we need to change to trash just for the sake of not having end ones. Same thing with Scarf Raid. Party Pepper gained a heat and change checks, I believe. When grilled, each player must trash a chili on their plate to summon the top chili of the deck onto their plates. I still think that it should target either hottest or mildest for the sake of not having the decision take forever. But that's not necessarily a balance thing, but I'm still going to say it. You know, I mean, part of the point is to just get my thoughts on every card. I think on average it's like, I think it wasn't seeing quite enough play at 4, so I can see 5 being all right. I can agree with that. I think at 4 it was seeing a little bit play, but at 5 it's like a decent actual option, sort of like Santa is at 3. Like it felt like at 5 Santa was played every time. I think because it was a high heat chili and it made the game end a turn sooner. Like that, those were both good things. I think Party Pepper at 5 is more in line with like a 3 heat Santa. Speaking of, yeah, we'll put Santa down too. When grilled, merge a chili from your hand onto your plate. That feels a little weak to me. I think Peach could have a little bit more heat and be balanced. Popsicle. This felt, it does what it does. That's like the point of it. I think it's felt like a good card and fun still. I think it's still fun for people to trash and put in their opponent's freezer. I would say I haven't. Pizza is another one that I haven't necessarily played enough with. When grilled, merges chili onto an opponent's chili. When frozen, merges chili onto one of your chilies. I like the flavor of that a lot too. Professor's one that's been around forever. Side chilies felt, yeah, reasonable at 5. Orangey chili, it does what it wants to do. I think it's still a little weak, but it's like good enough. I think with the average heat being like 3.5, right? This could be either 3 heat or 4 heat. Either one's fine. It's felt good at 3. And I think you'd rather, given the RNG nature of the ability, I think you'd rather not overheat because then you just lose. So I think 3 is probably a better spot than 4 is. Ruby, draw 2. I think at 3 it was an S. At 4 I'll still say it's an A. Because it's still just a free draw 2. Samuro Shibudo at 6 feels like pretty good. I think at 6 it's going to feel like a pretty good option. I thought it felt like a B before at 5, and so it's definitely like a B plus at 6. Senior Fuegos felt fun. I think you could... yeah, I think you could buff the heat maybe a little bit, but one's good. I haven't played enough with the new Serrano Snowman, but I'll say that every time it's been in my hand, I haven't wanted to play it. When grilled, freeze an opponent's mildest chili on their plate into their freezer, which we mentioned is like a 2 heat thing compared to Beely. So that's already like the 4, right? Like it's already doing what Frostmancer does. And then send on the top chili of the deck onto their plate. That means it should have at least 7 heat, I think, because the average is 3. And you're doing Frostmancer plus 3. I think you could go back to 8 heat with this. And should. Because it's a snowman. Gosh darn it. It's the one time not the one time, but I do like... I think it feels better at 8. I don't think I'd play this at 6. I think I'd play it more often at 7. I think it'd be balanced at 7, but I think if you're going to 7, because it's a snowman, you might as well go to 8. And it would feel even better. Because this is the downside. So I think that means it's a C, because I think it needs a couple more heat. Silly Chilies felt funny. I think it could be a -1. And still be, like, funny. I think -2s might be a little bit too punishing. I'm not sure. Sleepy Chili. I think it's a balanced card. I think it's, like, still taking up the same design space that Ace of Chilies does, but it does it in a slightly different way, and that's okay. But I think that most of my feelings on this card are that I don't feel like it's very flavorful. I don't think this is a very sleepy ability. That's where my mind is caring more about that than the balance. I like the effect. I think that it does stomp on the toes of Ace a little bit, but I think more than anything, I would want it to be on a different card than Sleepy. Spoiled Milk, it's still doing what it needs to do. Maybe a little bit too negative heat, but it's like we talked about, you do want some high negative heats for the sake of just having that out be available to people who are overheating a lot. Steely Chili, when grilled, I mean, yeah, we talked about that. I think I mentioned before that it could go down to 3 heat at one point, but it feels balanced at 4. So Stonks, I think it's like Stonks. How strong is Stonks? Is Stonks a B? If you're at 4, then it's just basically an 8. Does something, but overheats. I'll say that I think it's a B, but I think I'll put it in X tier because I don't necessarily... I think it's an effect that I'd like to see reworked. I think Seedling does it in an elegant way, and I don't think Stonks does it as much. I think the main time that I've been seeing Stonks C play has only been on, like, you know, the 99 heat, the 99 heat dish of the day, with the intention of, like, buffing it to be insanely high, which is a fun thing to do. It's fun to have a card that can do that in those circumstances, but I think most of the time with it not being 99 heat, I think I'd like to see the effect changed, personally. And just have Seedling take up that space. Stray Cat, yep, it's a free summon. Makes sense, a 2. Summon a Chili, I still think is an A. Because I think a lot of the time, you're getting Tray advantage, and you're getting 7 or more heat. And then those are just both good. Like, Summon a Chili could go down to 1 heat and still be good. I get that it's at 2 because Apprentice is at the 1, but Super Chilies also felt good. Tactical, I'm going to put an X as well, because I think since it's had this ability, I've seen it go off 1 time. I think if you're going to keep it having this ability, then I don't like the idea of just increasing its heat so it sees more play in a vanilla way. I don't think that's fun. I think I want to see this ability changed. I think right now it's like a D plus C minus tier. And I'd like for it to be a B by changing its ability slightly. So let's go to key. When grilled, remove a chili on your plate to swap any of the merged chilies. Remove a chili on your plate to swap any of the merged chilies onto with any chili on your plate. I don't like that I had to read it a few times to get it. When grilled, remove a chili on your plate to swap any of its merged chilies with. When grilled, remove a chili on your plate to swap any of its merged chilies with any chilies on your plate. My roommate also just got home, so I'm a little distracted. When grilled, remove a chili on your plate to swap any of its merged chilies with any chilies on your plate. That seems awful. I dare say F. Or X because I want it reworked. Its only use case is like chest, right? Obviously, that's the whole point of it. Not the whole point. I mean, because you want it to be flexible with other merged chilies, right? I think the vast majority of the time, like 95%, this only loses you heat. And for using it to get rid of a negative heat chili, then you'd rather just use like a rich chili, which has a lot more heat. I almost feel like this is a negative effect, and that means it should have more than 7 heat, which means it shouldn't be on key. I think it's pretty bad. Great Chili May just felt like a B. 1 True Chili. It's been going off a surprising amount. A good amount. More than Fib, for sure. It's been fun too when it does. It's in a fun spot where it happens rarely enough. TNT's felt good at 10, I think. Right, the whole thing is like, it's 10 minus an average chili, which is like 3 sort of deal. That's like 7. Trench coat. Oh, I downloaded it again. Hollow. I think Hollow should go up to 6 or even 7. I mean, I don't want it to go to 7 for the reason that it's stepping on the toes of the vanilla chili, right? But like, I think with how the fact that its ability's done by the time that you can play it means that all it really is doing is being a vanilla chili. And if that's all it's doing, and you don't want to step on the toes of chill chili, then that means that it needs that at most it could be a 6, and I think that means that it should be a 6 because all it is a vanilla chili by the time you're playing it. So I like to be either a 6 or possibly even a 7. honestly. Because that's all it is doing is being a vanilla with a slightly upside, right? Compared to Chili Guy. But like maybe that's okay to have a. I don't. Something feels bad about having just a slightly worse hollow being chili, but that would be a reason to put it at 6 if we care that much about it. Wild chili, it probably goes in the same category as all the other 3 heat summon effects. Although part of me wants to say it's slightly stronger because you can summon multiple, as in the fact is that a lot of the animals have higher heat, so when they are summoned. But at the same time, you can just whiff a lot of the time. And so that makes it seem like it should be lower too, and maybe those balance out. I would think that it's either... I think what my heart's saying is that it's not a B. What it's saying is that it's either an A or a C, and I'm not sure which one because I haven't played enough with it. With chili, when grilled, attracts the hottest chili on any plate to summon a chili from the top of the deck onto its owner's plate. Yep, I think that's a balanced card. XXL chili, I thought it was a little high at 6, and we already talked about this one and lowered it to 5. That makes it, I'd say it's pretty balanced at 5. Yeti, I think Yeti would be a much more playable card. I mean, like I've mentioned Yeti. I know we talked about Yeti specifically before. That I think it should have less of a downside. I think it would be a fine card at -5, and I think it'd be at a healthier place at -5 and like actually kind of playable at -5 or -4 even. But I get the whole point. Is like you do want there to be like you have your reasons for it being at -7, and I'll respect that. And that's it, I guess, because this one's repeated. So there we have it. These are all B tier, by the way. The benchmarks, that's kind of the whole point of them. So, yeah, there we go. And I'll upload this shortly, and I'll send a picture of it into the Discord. Thanks for making the game. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to making more plays with it and continuing development. It's been fun to develop.